The neuroscience of falling asleep, a journey through your brain's nightly transition. Opening. Good evening, everyone. Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is performing one of the most remarkable feats of biological engineering. It's managing your consciousness. But in a few hours, when you lay your head on your pillow, your brain will orchestrate something even more extraordinary. It will systematically shut itself down, transitioning from the bright spotlight of wakefulness into the mysterious realm of sleep. Tonight, we're going to explore the fascinating neuroscience behind that magical moment when you drift off to sleep. We're not talking about sleep hygiene tips or counting sheep. We're diving deep into the neural choreography that transforms your alert, thinking brain into a sleeping one. For the orchestra of sleep onset, the neuroscience of falling asleep, a journey through your brain's nightly transition. Opening. Good evening, everyone. Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is performing one of the most remarkable feats of biological engineering. It's managing your consciousness. But in a few hours, when you lay your head on your pillow, your brain will orchestrate something even more extraordinary. It will systematically shut itself down, transitioning from the bright spotlight of wakefulness into the mysterious realm of sleep. Tonight, we're going to explore the fascinating neuroscience behind that magical moment when you drift off to sleep. Imagine your brain as a vast orchestra. During wakefulness, every section is playing at once. The violins of visual processing, the drums of motor control, the brass section of executive decision-making. The music is fast, complex, and energetic. But as sleep approaches, something remarkable happens. The conductor, your brain's sleep systems, begins to slow the tempo. This transition isn't random. It's controlled by a coordinated shift in brain chemicals, circuits, and rhythms that gradually move your brain from fast, focused wakefulness into slow, synchronized sleep activity. Scientists can actually watch this happen in real time using EEG technology, which measures the electrical activity of your brain. When you're awake and alert, your brain produces what we call low-amplitude, high-frequency waves. Think of these like rapid, shallow ripples on a pond. But as you fall asleep, these waves transform into something entirely different. Higher amplitude, slower waves, like deep, rolling swells on the ocean. This isn't just a subtle change. It's a complete reorganization of how your brain operates. Your cortex, the wrinkled outer layer responsible for conscious thought, literally loses its wakeful activation pattern and adopts an entirely new mode of operation. The frequency symphony. Now, let's get specific about what these brainwaves actually look like. Scientists have categorized brainwaves by their frequency, how many cycles they complete per second measured in hertz. During alert wakefulness, your brain is dominated by what we call alpha waves, oscillating at 8 to 12 cycles per second. These are particularly strong in the back of your brain, in areas processing visual information and attention. But as sleep creeps in, your brain begins shifting towards slower frequencies. First come the theta waves, cycling at 4 to 7 times per second. Then, as sleep deepens, your brain produces delta waves, the slowest of all, pulsing at less than 4 cycles per second. This transition is most pronounced over the frontocentral regions of your brain, the areas behind your forehead. Here's where it gets interesting. That rise in frontal delta activity just before you fall asleep isn't random. It's a biomarker of what scientists call sleep pressure. Throughout the day, as you stay awake, your brain accumulates a kind of neurochemical debt. Adenosine builds up in your neural circuits, creating pressure for sleep. Those delta waves in your frontal cortex are essentially your brain's way of saying, I need to sleep now. But the story doesn't end with falling asleep. Once those first slow waves appear, something fascinating happens. They don't start everywhere at once. Instead, these early slow waves often originate in specific regions. Your sensoromotor cortex, which controls movement and sensation, and an area called the posteromedial parietal cortex, which is involved in self-awareness and spatial processing. From these origin points, the slow waves spread outward, gradually recruiting other cortical areas into the sleep rhythm. As sleep deepens after this initial onset, the slow waves undergo another transformation. They become more localized and smaller in amplitude. This might seem counterintuitive, but it actually indicates that more specific regions of your cortex are becoming involved in sleep processing, rather than your entire brain operating as one synchronized unit. The communication network rewiring. While these frequent changes are happening, your brain is simultaneously rewiring its communication networks. During wakefulness, the front and back of your brain maintain constant, synchronized communication in the delta frequency band. But during sleep onset, something remarkable happens. There's a progressive decrease in this front-to-back synchronization. This represents a fundamental change in how different brain regions talk to each other. The networks that maintain conscious awareness and integrate information across your entire brain begin to disconnect. It's as if the telephone lines between different departments in a large company are gradually being unplugged. Meanwhile, your visual processing areas are undergoing their own transformation. The occipital cortex, located at the very back of your brain and responsible for processing what you see, shows a gradual reduction in alpha wave power before sleep. This makes perfect sense. As you close your eyes and visual input disappears, the need for active visual and attentional processing diminishes. But here's a surprising twist. After sleep begins, alpha activity doesn't disappear entirely. Instead, it reappears with a completely different spatial pattern. Rather than being strongest in the occipital regions as it was during wakefulness, alpha activity now shows up with frontocentral dominance. Your brain has essentially reorganized its rhythmic activity patterns, repurposing the same frequency for entirely different functions. The posterior cingulate, sleep's hidden conductor. As your brain transitions from the lightest stage of sleep, called N1, into slightly deeper N2 sleep, a specific brain region takes on a starring role: the posterior cingulate cortex. This area, nestled deep within the midline of your brain, becomes an important driver of increased alpha connectivity. Think of the posterior cingulate as sleep's hidden conductor. While other brain regions are powering down, this area becomes increasingly active in coordinating the rhythmic patterns that characterize early sleep. It's helping to orchestrate the transition from the chaotic symphony of wakefulness into the more organized, slower rhythms of sleep. The twilight zone, between sleep and wakefulness. The most fascinating aspect of falling asleep is that boundary moment, the twilight zone between waking and sleeping. If scientists were to look at your EEG during this time, they'd see something remarkable: mixed features that reflect the brain's transitional state. Your EEG might show residual alpha waves from wakefulness mixed with emerging theta, and slow waves from encroaching sleep. This corresponds perfectly to that subjective feeling of being drowsy, but not fully asleep, when you're aware that you're drifting off, but you haven't quite crossed the threshold yet. It's during these moments that you might experience hypnagogic hallucinations, those strange, dreamlike images or sensations that can occur as you're falling asleep. Your brain is caught between two operating systems, and sometimes the boundaries blur in fascinating ways. The conclusion: 1 minute. So, the next time you are lying in bed, feeling that familiar pull toward sleep, remember that you're witnessing one of neuroscience's most elegant processes. Your brain isn't simply turning off. It's executing a precisely choreographed transformation that involves changes in electrical rhythms, communication networks, and regional activation patterns. From the gradual slowing of brain waves to the rewiring of neural networks, from the buildup of sleep pressure to the spatial reorganization of brain activity, falling asleep represents a masterpiece of biological engineering. Your brain, that 3-pound universe between your ears, is constantly working, even as it prepares to enter the restorative world of sleep. The next time someone tells you that sleep is a waste of time, you can remind them that falling asleep alone is one of the most complex and beautiful processes in all of biology. Sweet dreams, and may your slow waves be deep and restorative. The broader implications: sleep onset as brain the memory and cognitive functions of sleep onset has profound implications for how we think about sleep in modern society. More than rest. We now know that sleep isn't just about rest and energy recovery. It's about active brain maintenance, memory consolidation, and cognitive preparation for future challenges. The quality of your sleep onset directly affects your ability to learn, remember, solve problems, and perform cognitively demanding tasks. This means that anything that disrupts sleep onset, whether it's caffeine too late in the day, screens before bedtime, irregular schedules, or bedroom environments that prevent smooth transitions into sleep, is potentially compromising some of your brain's most important maintenance functions. The investment perspective. Perhaps we need to think of time spent falling asleep not as time lost, but as time invested in cognitive performance and brain health. The 10-20 minutes it takes to fall asleep naturally isn't quiet time. It's the beginning of an active process that will literally reshape your neural networks and prepare your mind for tomorrow's challenges. Conclusion: the simple complexity of sleep. Onset. As we conclude our exploration of sleep onset neuroscience, we return to that final, elegant summary. The neuroscience of falling asleep shows that even a seemingly simple act, closing your eyes and drifting off, depends on highly coordinated changes in rhythms, chemistry, circuits, and body systems. Recent findings indicate that this ostensibly simple action also initiates several of the brain's most advanced maintenance and optimization processes. Sleep onset isn't just the end of wakefulness, it's the beginning of active memory consolidation, synaptic homeostasis, and neural preparation for future learning and performance. From the flip-flop switches that ensure stable state transitions, to the neurotransmitter cascades that quiet arousal systems, to the sleep spindles that consolidate memories, to the slow waves that prune unnecessary connections. Every aspect of falling asleep serves the broader purpose of maintaining and optimizing brain function. Tonight, as you experience your own sleep onset, remember that you're not just resting. You're taking part in one of biology's most sophisticated maintenance and optimization processes, a nightly transformation that literally rebuilds your brain for tomorrow's challenges. The next time someone suggests that sleep is time wasted, you can remind them that falling asleep is one of the most important things your brain does. Not despite its complexity, but because of it. Sweet dreams. And may your sleep spindles consolidate today's learning into tomorrow's wisdom. Sleep disorders are more than just inconveniences. They're windows into the remarkable complexity of normal sleep onset. From insomnia's hyperarousal that prevents neural deactivation, to narcolepsy's unstable switches that allow sleep to intrude into wakefulness, to sleep apnea's breathing failures that fragment the progression through sleep stages. Each disorder illuminates a different aspect of what must go right for healthy sleep. These conditions reveal that normal sleep onset requires an intricate coordination of neural circuits, neurotransmitter systems, autonomic functions, and even basic physiological processes like breathing. When any component fails, the entire system can become disrupted. But perhaps most importantly, understanding these disorders provides hope. By identifying what goes wrong, researchers and clinicians can develop targeted interventions that restore the natural flow towards sleep. Whether through medications that enhance GABA, devices that maintain breathing, or therapies that retrain hyperaroused nervous systems, we can help repair the beautiful machinery of sleep onset. Tonight, if you're fortunate enough to experience normal, easy sleep onset, remember that you're witnessing one of biology's most elegant and robust systems working exactly as evolution intended. A nightly reminder of the remarkable precision. Fall asleep, your brain begins one of its most important jobs: processing, consolidating, and preparing the memories and experiences of the day for long-term storage and future use. Tonight, we'll explore how the seemingly simple act of falling asleep triggers a cascade of memory consolidation processes that reshape your brain. On a keyboard. Declarative memories are your what memories? Facts, events, and experiences you can consciously recall. What's remarkable is that sleep spindles coordinate the transfer of information from temporary storage permanent storage in the cortex. Avoiding these spindles and deciding which neural connections should be strengthened, which should be weakened, and which new pathways should be established for efficient retrieval. Timing is everything. Here's where the story gets even more intriguing. The timing of when you fall asleep relative to learning episodes can dramatically influence how effectively early NREM stages stabilize new memories. If you learn something new and then sleep soon afterward, your brain can immediately begin the consolidation process during those first crucial hours of NREM sleep. But if you stay awake for many hours after learning, or if you experience poor sleep onset, the window for optimal consolidation may be compromised. This explains why cramming all night before an exam is such a poor strategy. You're not just depriving yourself of sleep, you're actively preventing the memory consolidation processes that would help you retain what you've learned. Synaptic homeostasis, the great neural pruning. While sleep spindles are combining important memories, another crucial process occurs during those early NREM slow waves. Synaptic homeostasis. The problem of constant learning. Throughout your waking hours, your brain is constantly learning, not just consciously, but through every interaction with the environment. Every sight, sound, conversation, and experience potentially strengthens neural connections. This is wonderful for learning, but it creates a significant problem. If synapses only got stronger and never got weaker, your brain would quickly become overwhelmed with irrelevant information. Imagine a library where books were constantly being added, but never removed or reorganized. Eventually, the valuable information would be buried under an avalanche of trivia. The slow wave solution. This is where the early NREM slow waves after sleep onset become crucial. These slow waves help down-select synapses that were potentiated during wakefulness, contributing to what scientists call synaptic homeostasis. During these slow wave periods, your brain essentially reviews the day's neural changes and makes decisions about which connections are worth keeping strong and which can be weakened or eliminated. It's like a nightly editorial process where your brain decides what's worth remembering and what can be forgotten. This process serves multiple functions. First, it prevents synaptic saturation, keeping your neural networks from becoming overwhelmed with too many strong connections. Second, it helps consolidate enormously important memories by reducing competition from less relevant neural pathways. Third, it prepares your brain for new learning the next day by creating neural space for fresh experiences. Quality imperative. The quality of these slow waves matters enormously. Reduced slow wave activity following sleep onset is linked with impaired next-day cognitive performance and increased sleepiness. When the brain can't effectively engage in this nightly pruning and consolidation, both memory formation and general cognitive functions suffer. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's about having a brain that can't efficiently process information, form new memories, or access stored knowledge. The first cycle advantage. Interestingly, the first NREM cycle after falling asleep typically has the slowest wave activity, reflecting the high sleep pressure that builds during the day. This front-loading of slow-wave activity suggests that the most crucial memory consolidation work happens early in the sleep period. Your brain essentially prioritizes the most important restoration and consolidation work for the beginning of the night, when sleep pressure is highest and the consolidation machinery is most active. Circadian timing and hormonal coordination. The benefits of sleep onset extend beyond just the immediate neural processes to encompass broader patterns of brain maintenance and optimization. The importance of consistency. Falling asleep at a consistent circadian phase, roughly the same time each night relative to your internal body clock, supports regular patterns of hormone release and memory consolidation. This isn't just about sleep duration, it's about timing. When you fall asleep at consistent circadian phases, your brain can coordinate the release of growth hormone, prolactin, and other hormones that support brain maintenance and memory consolidation. These hormones don't just appear randomly, they're released in carefully timed patterns that coordinate with specific sleep stages. Irregular sleep onset timing disrupts these hormonal patterns, potentially compromising not just immediate memory consolidation, but also longer-term brain health and cognitive function. The fragmentation problem. This is why fragmented sleep onset and repeated awakenings can be so damaging to cognitive function. It's not just that you're getting less sleep, you're interfering with the consolidation processes that depend on stable transitions through sleep stages. When sleep onset is repeatedly interrupted, the brain can't properly engage its memory consolidation machinery. The carefully orchestrated progression from light sleep through deeper NREM stages gets disrupted, potentially leaving memories in a vulnerable, incompletely processed state. The cascade of sleep quality. One of the most important insights from sleep research is that the quality of the transition into sleep influences how restorative the later cycles of NREM and REM will be throughout the entire night. Setting the stage. A smooth, efficient transition into sleep doesn't just affect the first hour of rest, it sets the stage for the entire night's restorative processes. When sleep onset occurs smoothly and progressively. For most people, falling asleep is as natural as breathing, a nightly transition that happens effortlessly when the conditions are right. But for millions of others, sleep onset becomes a nightly struggle, a biological process gone awry, a system that should work seamlessly but instead fight against itself. Tonight, we're going to explore what happens when the elegant machinery of sleep onset breaks down. From the hyper-aroused brain that can't find its off switch, to the destabilized sleep-wake systems that collapse without warning, to the breathing that stops just as sleep should deepen. These disorders reveal the delicate balance required for normal sleep onset. By understanding what goes wrong, we gain deeper insight into just how remarkable normal sleep onset really is. These are the stories of sleep's dark side, when the journey to slumber becomes a battle instead of a gentle drift. The hyper-aroused brain, insomnia's cruel paradox. Let's begin with perhaps the most common sleep disorder, insomnia. On the surface, insomnia seems simple, the inability to fall asleep when you want to. But the underlying neuroscience reveals a much more complex and fascinating story when the brain won't power down. In people with insomnia, the fundamental problem isn't just difficulty falling asleep, it's hyperarousal of both cortical and subcortical networks that prevents the normal decline in high-frequency EEG activity needed for sleep onset. Remember those beautiful transitions we've discussed, from high-frequency, low-amplitude wake rhythms to the slow, synchronized waves of sleep? In insomnia, this transition is blocked. The brain remains stuck in a pattern of fast, fragmented activity that's incompatible with sleep initiation. It's as if the brain's dimmer switch is broken, leaving the neural lights blazing when they should be gently fading to darkness. EEG studies show that people with insomnia often maintain wake-like patterns of brain activity even when they're lying in bed with their eyes closed, desperately trying to sleep. The body's betrayal. But the hyperarousal isn't limited to the brain. People with insomnia often show elevated metabolic and autonomic activity around bedtime, the exact opposite of what should be happening. While healthy sleepers experience that beautiful autonomic shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic control, those with insomnia remain stuck in a state of physiological vigilance. Their heart rates stay elevated. Their core body temperatures remain high. Their stress hormones continue circulating, all opposing the usual descent into sleep. It's a cruel physiological catch-22. They're exhausted and desperate for sleep, but their bodies remain primed for action. This helps explain why insomnia can be so frustrating. It's not simply a matter of not being tired enough or not trying hard enough to sleep. The entire sleep onset system, from brain waves to heart rate to hormone levels, is stuck in the wrong gear. The hypervigilance trap. What makes chronic insomnia particularly insidious is that the struggle to sleep often creates additional arousal. The bed becomes associated with frustration rather than rest. Bedtime becomes a source of anxiety rather than relief. This creates a vicious cycle where worry about not sleeping generates the very arousal that prevents sleep. The brain learns to associate the sleep environment with hypervigilance rather than relaxation, making the problem self-perpetuate. Breaking this cycle often requires not just addressing sleep habits, but retraining the nervous system to allow the natural deactivation that sleep requires. The unstable switch. Narcolepsy's chaotic transitions. At the opposite extreme from insomnia lies narcolepsy, a condition that reveals just how important stability is in the sleep-wake system. The orexin disaster narcolepsy is fundamentally caused by the loss of orexin neurons in the lateral hypothalamus. Remember that orexin, also called hypocretin, acts as a stabilizing force in the sleep-wake flip-flop switch, helping maintain stable wakefulness and preventing inappropriate transitions into sleep. When orexin signaling is disrupted, usually through autoimmune destruction of orexin-producing neurons, the sleep-wake switch becomes catastrophically unstable. The result is sudden, uncontrollable transitions into sleep and REM that can occur during the day, regardless of sleep pressure or circadian timing. It's as if the brain's state control system has lost its anchor. Without orexin's stabilizing influence, the flip-flop switch becomes prone to random flipping, leading to sleep attacking at the most inappropriate moments. When REM invades wakefulness, perhaps the most dramatic symptom of narcolepsy is cataplexy, sudden episodes of muscle weakness or complete loss of muscle tone triggered by strong emotions. This bizarre phenomenon reflects REM-like atonia intruding into wakefulness, showing how REM sleep circuitry can activate at completely inappropriate times. During cataplexy, the motor inhibition that normally occurs only during REM sleep suddenly activates while the person is fully conscious. They might collapse while laughing, experience muscle weakness during surprise, or lose the ability to speak when angry because REM sleep's motor control systems are misfiring during wake. This reveals the normally hidden complexity of sleep-wake state control. In healthy brains, different aspects of sleep states, the EEG patterns, the muscle atonia, the dreaming, are perfectly coordinated. In narcolepsy, these components can dissociate and appear independently, creating surreal mixed states that shouldn't exist. The timing chaos. People with narcolepsy also experience disrupted sleep onset timing. They might fall asleep within minutes of lying down, regardless of time of day or prior sleep. They might enter REM sleep almost at once, skipping normal progression through NREM stages. This demonstrates how crucial orexin is not just for staying awake, but for maintaining the orderly progression of sleep stages and the proper timing of sleep onset relative to circadian and homeostatic signals. When breathing breaks. The sleep apnea disorders. Another fascinating category of sleep onset disorders involves the fundamental act of breathing. Something so automatic we rarely think about it until it goes wrong. Obstructive sleep apnea. The mechanical failure. In obstructive sleep apnea, the progression from light sleep onset to stable deeper stages becomes fragmented due to repeated airway collapses. As muscle tone naturally decreases during sleep onset and early NREM stages, the soft tissues of the throat can collapse, blocking airflow. This creates a vicious cycle. Deeper sleep leads to more muscle relaxation, which leads to airway collapse, which leads to arousal and fragmented sleep. The result is that people with sleep apnea may start to sleep normally, but can never progress to stable, restorative, deeper stages. The brain keeps trying to transition through the normal sleep stages, but the breathing interruptions force repeated micro-arousals that reset the process. It's like trying to descend a staircase where some of the steps keep disappearing, forcing you back to the top. Central sleep apnea, the neural failure. Even more revealing is central sleep apnea, where the brainstem respiratory control systems temporarily fail during sleep. This demonstrates just how dependent breathing is on state-specific neural circuits. During wakefulness, breathing is driven by both automatic brainstem circuits and conscious cortical control. But during sleep, breathing relies entirely on brainstem automation. In central sleep apnea, these automatic circuits can fail, causing breathing to simply stop until low oxygen levels trigger an arousal. This shows that sleep onset isn't just about quieting wake circuits. It's also about ensuring that essential automatic functions like breathing remain stable under reduced cortical control. The psychiatric connection. When mind and sleep collide, many psychiatric conditions profoundly affect sleep onsets, revealing the deep connections between emotional regulation and sleep systems. Anxiety and depression, the ruminating brain. In anxiety and depression, sleep onset lately, the time it takes to fall asleep, is often significantly prolonged. This reflects both neurotransmitter the treatment insights. Understanding these disorders has led to targeted treatments that work by correcting specific aspects of disrupted sleep onset. Medications that enhance GABAergic signaling, such as many sedative hypnotics, facilitate the initiation of sleep by increasing inhibitory activity within sleep-regulating neural circuits. They essentially amplify the brain's natural sleep-promoting mechanisms. Conversely, stimulants that increase monoamines like norepinephrine and dopamine typically delay sleep onset by reinforcing wake circuits, which is why timing of stimulant medications is so crucial for people who need them. The broader picture konikakasawai, shafranone kaktelai, shatrafa prefedasawai, texture, and tatazawan perception. Sleep onset disorders also reveal fundamental principles about brain connectivity and subjective experience. Disorders that disrupt thalamocortical connectivity can produce abnormal EEG transitions at sleep onset, altering not just the objective measures of sleep, but the subjective experience of fallen asleep. Some people may show EEG patterns suggesting sleep while reporting that they feel awake. Others may feel like they're sleeping while their brain waves suggest continued wakefulness. This dissociation between objective and subjective measures reveals that falling asleep imbalances and hyperactive neural networks that resist the deactivation necessary for sleep. Anxious brains often show elevated activity in worry circuits and threat detection systems that should quiet down at bedtime. All day, the chemical orchestra of sleep, how neurotransmitters quiet your brain. Opening. Imagine your brain as a bustling city at rush hour. Millions of neurons are firing, neurotransmitters are racing through synapses, and electrical signals are creating a symphony of consciousness. But every night, this metropolis of the mind must gradually calm down, transforming from a vibrant hub of activity into the peaceful stillness of sleep. Tonight, we're going to explore the chemical choreography behind this transformation, the specific neurotransmitters that act as sleep conductors, gradually dimming the lights on consciousness and guiding your brain into rest. This isn't about counting sheep or sleep hygiene tips. This is about the molecular messengers that literally turn off your brain's wake circuits, one chemical signal at a time. The master switch, GABA, takes center stage. At the heart of this nightly transformation is a neurotransmitter with an unglamorous name, but an extraordinary job. GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid. If your brain were a car, GABA would be the brake pedal. GABA is the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, and when it comes to sleep, it is the star of the show. While other neurotransmitters excite and activate neurons, GABA does the opposite. It dampens, it quiets, it soothes. Its job is to promote sleep by systematically reducing the activity of wake-promoting neurons. But GABA doesn't work randomly. There's a specific group of neurons in your anterior hypothalamus. Think of them as sleep's special forces that strategically deploy GABA during sleep onset. These sleep-promoting neurons have a very precise mission. They release GABA directly onto wake circuits in both the hypothalamus and brain stem. Picture this like a military operation. As drowsiness begins, these hypothalamic neurons begin their coordinated assault on wakefulness, sending GABA molecules streaming toward the very circuits that have been keeping you alert all day. It's targeted, it's systematic, and it's remarkably effective. This GABAergic system is so crucial that many sleep medications work by enhancing GABA's effects. When you take certain sleep aids, you are essentially amplifying nature's own sleep switch. The retreat of the Wake Brigade. While GABA advances, the neurotransmitters of wakefulness begin their strategic retreat. This isn't a chaotic rout. It's an orderly withdrawal, with each system shutting down according to a precise biological timeline. Norepinephrine, the vigilance keeper. First, let's talk about norepinephrine, released by neurons in a tiny brainstem region called the locus coeruleus. During wakefulness, these neurons are like hypervigilant sentries, firing rapidly and keeping you alert, focused, and ready to respond to your environment. But as drowsiness creeps in, something remarkable happens. These highly active neurons begin to reduce their firing. It's as if the sentries are slowly laying down their weapons. As you transition into deeper sleep stages, the norepinephrine neurons become silent, essentially going off duty for the night. This makes perfect sense when you think about it. Norepinephrine is all about vigilance and response, exactly what you don't need when you're trying to sleep. Histamine, the cortical activator. Next in this chemical retreat is histamine, produced by neurons in the tuberomamillary nucleus of your hypothalamus. You might know histamine from allergy medications. Antihistamines often make you drowsy precisely because they block this wake-promoting chemical. Histamine-releasing neurons are crucial for maintaining cortical activation during wakefulness. They help keep your brain's cortex, that wrinkled outer layer responsible for conscious thought, active and engaged. But as sleep approaches, these neurons also quiet down, allowing cortical activity to diminish. This is why some allergy medications cause drowsiness as a side effect. They're inadvertently blocking one of your brain's key wakefulness signals, serotonin. stepwise shutdown. Perhaps the most interesting pattern belongs to serotonin neurons in the dorsal raphe nucleus. These neurons demonstrate what scientists call a stepwise shutdown. They're highly active during wakefulness, decrease their activity during non-REM sleep, and become completely silent during REM sleep. This graduated reduction in serotonin signaling contributes to the various stages of sleep and the state transitions you experience as you fall asleep. Instead of being suddenly turned off, it's as if the dimmer switch is gradually lowered. Acetylcholine, the cognitive dimmer. Finally, there's acetylcholine, released from both the brainstem and basal forebrain. This neurotransmitter is crucial for cortical activation and cognitive function. It's what keeps your thinking sharp and your attention focused. During NREM sleep onset, acetylcholine tone decreases significantly, effectively lowering cortical arousal. It's as if someone is gradually turning down the brightness on your consciousness, allowing thoughts to become fragmented and dreamlike. The sleep pressure system, adenosine and orexin, 2 to 3 minutes. While GABA is actively promoting sleep, there's another chemical drama playing out. One involving adenosine and orexin that helps explain why you feel increasingly sleepy as the day progresses. Adenosine, the fatigue factor. Throughout your waking hours, your brain produces adenosine as a byproduct of neural activity and energy consumption. Think of adenosine as your brain's biological hourglass. The longer you stay awake, the more it accumulates. But adenosine doesn't just passively build up. It actively promotes sleep through 2 key mechanisms. First, it inhibits orexin neurons in the lateral hypothalamus, cells that normally promote wakefulness and help maintain the stability of the waking state. Second, it activates those same sleep-promoting neurons in the preoptic area that we discussed earlier. This creates a beautiful biological feedback loop. The more energy your brain uses during wakefulness, the more adenosine builds up, the stronger the drive for sleep becomes. Interestingly, this is exactly why caffeine works so well to keep you awake. Caffeine molecules are molecular mimics that can block adenosine receptors, essentially preventing your brain from receiving its own fatigue signals. Orexin, the stability switch. Orexin neurons, also called hypocretin neurons, serve as crucial stabilizers of the wake-sleep cycle. Their job is to promote wakefulness and maintain the stability of the waking state, to keep you firmly anchored in consciousness rather than drifting in and out of sleep. For sleep onset to occur, orexin output must be reduced. When these neurons decrease their firing, the stable waking state becomes destabilized, creating the conditions necessary for sleep to take hold. The importance of this system becomes tragically clear in narcolepsy, a disorder where orexin neurons are damaged or destroyed. Without proper orexin signaling, the boundary between wake and sleep becomes blurred, leading to sudden, uncontrollable episodes of sleep during the day. The precision of the shutdown, GABA's selective control. Here is where the story gets even more fascinating. GABA's sleep-promoting effects aren't delivered with a sledgehammer. They're applied with surgical precision. GABAergic inhibition can selectively target different wake-promoting systems. Diverse groups of GABA-releasing neurons can independently modulate the norepinephrine system, the histamine system, and the serotonin system. This allows for incredibly finely tuned control of the falling asleep process. What this means is that sleep onset isn't a simple binary switch from on to off. Instead, it's what scientists describe as a mosaic of partial shutdowns. Various aspects of wakefulness, attention, vigilance, cortical activation, stability can be dimmed independently and at different rates. Think of it like a recording studio mixing board. where the sound engineer can adjust individual tracks independently. The drums might fade first, then the bass, then the melody, creating a gradual, harmonious transition to silence rather than an abrupt cutoff. This selective control explains why falling asleep feels gradual and why you can experience intermediate states, feeling drowsy but not quite asleep, or drifting in and out of light sleep before settling into deeper rest. The next time you find yourself growing drowsy, remember that you're witnessing one of neuroscience's most elegant examples of biological engineering. Your brain isn't simply turning off, it's executing a precisely orchestrated chemical ballet. GABA is taking center stage, systematically quieting wake circuits while adenosine builds pressure for sleep. Norepinephrine, histamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine are making their orderly retreat, each according to its own biological schedule. Orexin neurons are releasing their grip on wakefulness, allowing the stable conscious state to give way to sleep. It's not chaos, it's choreography. Not a blackout, but a beautifully coordinated dimming of consciousness, guided by millions of years of evolution and orchestrated by some of the most sophisticated chemical signaling systems in biology. So, tonight, as you feel that familiar pull towards sleep, take a moment to appreciate the remarkable molecular symphony playing out in your brain. Sweet dreams are made of chemistry, quite literally.